How are you? I hope all of you are doing well. Today, I'm here with a story for all of you. Which story, you ask? It's Hansel and Gretel. There once was a family with a father and two children named Hansel and Gretel. The father was a woodcutter, but times were tough and there wasn't much wood to cut where they lived. He didn't want to go far away because he would have to leave Hansel and Gretel all alone. Hansel and Gretel wanted to help. So one day they decided to try and find some more food for the family. They went into the woods where their father was working. They knew they'd be walking very far. So Hansel dropped the trail of breadcrumbs behind them. That way they'd have something to guide them back home. What they didn't realize that a duck was following the breadcrumbs and eating up all of it. By midday, Hansel and Gretel hadn't found any food, and they were getting so hungry. And they decided to go back home where they could rest in their own beds and eat a small lunch. When they turned around, they saw only the duck. They were completely lost. They wandered and they wandered, but no matter what they did, they couldn't find their way home. Then a white bird flew up and left and right at them. They followed it through the woods and into a clearing where they saw the most delicious looking house. It was made of gingerbread and candy and was glued together with thick, gooey frosting. The closer they got, the more their stomachs rumbled. The door opened and an old woman poked her head out. "Oh, you poor dears, you look positively starved," she exclaimed. "Come inside, come inside." Hansel and Gretel were so tired that they didn't think twice about going into the woman's house. Once inside, she gave them tons and tons of candy. They were stuffed. They were so content that they both dozed off. When they woke up, it was very warm inside the house. Gretel got up first to see what was going on. The old woman had turned up her oven and was humming as she mixed some spices up in a bowl. Something seemed odd to Gretel. The woman was scarier than she looked earlier when they were so hungry. "You're awake?" she said when she saw Gretel. Gretel nodded. Then she looked around to find Hansel and saw that he was still sleeping soundly. But there was a cage around him. "I've had a wonderful idea," said the old hag. "It's so drafty in here. Why don't you get yourself in the oven? It will warm you right up." Gretel was too small for that. She knew something wasn't right about this old woman. Thinking fast, she said, "You want me to do what?" "Get in the oven, dear," said the old woman. "I don't understand," Gretel said. This woke Hansel up, and he watched from his cage. He could tell that Gretel was up to something. So he stayed as quiet as possible. The oven," said the hag, leaning closer and closer to open the oven door. Gretel took a deep breath, hoping this would work. "Maybe you should show me what to do." The old woman sighed, but she climbed up into the oven anyway. As soon as the woman was all inside the oven, Gretel slammed the door shut and broke Hansel out of the cage and grabbed him by the hand. They ran as fast as they could. They ran for what felt like hours, and before finally stopping, they were safe from the old woman. But there was one small problem. They still didn't know the way back home. There was a big lake, and Hansel thought he might recognize the trees at the other side. But he couldn't be sure. And neither of them could swim. But then a duck swam out to them. It was the same duck from earlier, who had eaten their breadcrumb trails. "He could take us across," Gretel said. Hansel clambered onto the duck, and it swam him across the lake and then came back to get Gretel. Once they crossed, everything looked familiar, and they were able to get home so quickly and the duck followed them and made sure they took all the right turns. Their father was beyond happy to have them home and safe, and Hansel and Gretel made sure never to wander the woods alone. The end. Hope you enjoyed.